I'm with it, 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 hey, hey, I'm with it, I'm with it, I'm with it, let's get it. You already know that I'm with it. We already know that she with it. You know that my squad, we gon' get it.
Yo, what's going on? And welcome to another episode of I'm With It Sports. I'm your host, Jalen Green. Alongside me is Scoob and Tones. Fellas, how we doing today?
What's up?
That's how you doing?
It's a lot of snow. I want to bring some warmth to this thing. Even though you're in the sunshine.
I'm in the sunshine today. I'm currently in Florida, so I'm good. Y'all keep all that snow up there. Look, entirely for the sake of
it. on your Stephen A right now. Sorry.
But listen, fellas, we got a lot to get into.
Sure.
Not really, kind of, but there's a lot going on in the NBA. So let's start out. First of all, KD made his comeback after being out for a year. The Nets looked all right. Not going to hold y'all. I mean, it's preseason. Don't want to put a lot of stock in it. But real quick, fellas, what's y'all take on it? How y'all feel about it?
How you feeling, Tonio?
I mean, he's 7 feet tall and can shoot. That don't go away. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like we aren't really that surprised that he looked like he could still do some of the things he can do.
Yeah.
It's preseason, so it's hard to compare where his burst is compared to where it was before, right? It's going to be interesting to see how he holds up, right? So the issue with the Achilles isn't necessarily that he won't bounce back from the Achilles, is what else is weaker because of that, right? So let's see how he holds up. And it's the first time in some years now that he is the guy, right? You know, that Kyrie is good and Kyrie is a great player, but it's different just having Kyrie than having Steph and Clay as well. You know what I'm saying? So let's see how he holds up through a very shortening season. But I mean, it's good to see KD still 7 feet tall. He can still jump. I mean, he can still shoot. Like, what more is there to really say? There's no shock about those parts. He didn't show me anything that like surprised me at all.
Right. What about you, Scoob?
I actually agree with Antonio wholeheartedly on this one. The one thing that stuck out for me was, a little bit of the interaction that we saw, maybe a little bit of the disconnect that we maybe saw between him and Kyrie. But other than that, as far as the way he looked individually as a player, I'm not surprised. He's been putting in a lot of work to get back to this stage and to get back to playing and fighting weight. Now, again, fighting shape. But now, we'll see how, like Antonio said, those other things that may have been weakened as he sat out for a long time. And also just how much of that stamina is he going to be able to hold up, for that time in the season. I mean, the game, it was shortened, 10 games? So we're playing 72 instead of 82. But that's still a large amount of the season that he's still going to have to shoulder. I think that this is going to be a defining moment in his career. This time in Brooklyn. And not to say that in a negative way. I'm just saying, like Antonio said, this is where he's the man. The focus is solely on him. And Kyrie is kind of helping push that onto him by just kind of stepping into his Robin role, if you will. You know what I mean? And kind of really sitting there. So he's showing us a lot in who a lot of this is going to be on, and it is going to be on KD's shoulders. So I'm interested to see how it goes. But for me, like Antonio said, he's 7 foot. He can pull up from 30. We know that about him. Like you said, that stuff doesn't leave. So good to see him back in action. I do want to see a lot more though, and see how it's going to go in the next couple weeks and months.
Now, there is one takeaway I could take from that game, though.
Okay.
And that is, who are they going to stop defensively?
Right.
Jared Allen, he's a solid shot blocker, but he's small, right? Yeah. And DeAndre Jordan should just be collecting his check, right? So they don't have a lot of interior defense. Before the game in media availability, KD talked about how he looking forward to playing some small ball 5 this year. So I'm very interested to see what I mean, they're going to be able to score with anybody. Like, they're probably going to be one of the best top 2 offensive teams in the league. But who are they stopping?
Right. So I'm glad you mentioned that, because both of y'all kind of touched on it. Y'all was talking about how good it was to see him. Obviously, it's good to always see someone that talented be able to make his way back on the court, especially after those type of injuries. But my biggest takeaway was not more of him, because like you said, 7 foot, he could shoot. He always had a shot. You're not really, as long as you can shoot the 3, you're going to be able to last in the league for a while. Sure. My biggest takeaway was the team in general. And like you said, Lord help them if both of them are cold one night, or, they're struggling from the field because, like you said, I cannot even think of a team that I could say, wow, defensively, you guys can really stop this team. Like, it's literally going to be a shootout in every game. Now, again, that's D'Antoni's kind of MO. Like, we're going to run and gun, and we're going to beat you by scoring
Don't
more
disrespect
points.
Steve Nash, okay? Don't be another
and
one.
Steve Nash, my fault, and Steve Nash.
Don't disrespect Steve Nash.
No take away from him.
No.
No take away from him, but I figured he's probably going to emulate what his coach did for him back in Phoenix when he won
I'm
MVP.
just making sure. You know
what I mean? Let me throw that in there.
Yeah.
But like you said, like, again, because I've seen a lot of games with Kyrie where he can be unstoppable, and I've seen a lot of games where he could shoot you out of a game too.
Sure, absolutely.
And there was a lot of ISO ball being played. Now, again, it's the first game, it's preseason. Yeah. They're probably just like warming up. But I'm very curious, and I would say tell people to keep your eye on that because I'm wondering if that's the style of play they're going to go. It's going to be very tough for them once, you know, in 72 games, but he's still coming off of a major injury.
And
so,
a lot more doubled up, a lot more back-to-backs because
of back-to-backs. And I'm glad you actually guys brought that to my attention because I thought that like for me, I kind of thought it was a given, to be honest, because of having D'Antoni and Nash, but I didn't really think about the magnitude of who are they really going to stop. And I wasn't even thinking about interior defense, to be honest, because I knew they were going to be playing a lot on the perimeter. But that is kind of honestly the recipe for success because, as you said, if one or two of them gets cold, a lot of the scoring load goes out the window, and they don't have those players that they can lean on. And have developed.
I mean, I'm not really worried about them offensively. I mean, if they get cold, I need to see what the system is. But you still have a Spencer Dinwiddie there right now.
Sure,
Harris Levert there right now.
Right, Joe.
So they can hold up the scoring punch if those two are cold. But that also those two aren't known as great defenders, right?
Right.
You have Joe Harris, not known as a great defender.
Right, Joe Harris.
Kyrie, not known as a great defender. KD, known as a good help defender, right? Like we're not looking at KD as a primary ball defender. And in the starting lineup, he's going to have to play some tougher forward matchups, right? Like you're going to have to see him play against some tougher wings. Yeah. Coming off of Achilles, that's going to be tough. Yeah. So that's where my struggles with them came. But offensively, they are who they are. I mean, roll the ball out, they're going to drop 140.
And see, I'm beat up down low.
Yeah.
Especially small ball 5.
Yeah. And like I said, I'm thinking, when I was watching it, I was thinking more of, this is nice, but what are you going to do when you go against the Sixers when you got to play them 4 times? You know what I mean?
And against a Joel Embiid,
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Or, this is nice, but the Miami Heat can probably match y'all right now. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like when I'm thinking of that and who you got to play, I'm like, this is cool. Again, it's the first preseason, so I'm not.
Who's guarding Giannis?
But who's guarding Giannis? You know what I'm saying?
Ooh, bro, like
Boston has a bunch of athletic big men.
I believe Giannis can guard KD.
Absolutely.
I don't know coming off of the Achilles if KD can guard Giannis. I know Drew Holiday can guard Kyrie. Right. Can Kyrie guard Drew Holiday? Who's guarding Chris Middleton? You know what I'm saying? Like questions like that will become real issues. Like
and Lord forbid if you're cold that night and now you have to play defense too and gotta guard those people. That's what I was thinking more when I was watching this. Like, oh, this is nice, a good moment for KD, not taking it away from him. But I'm looking at this Nets team like, y'all gonna need some help.
And it's still gonna take KD to get some time to get into game shape. He hasn't played, you know what I mean, in over a year. So I think these are all valid points. And it's just something that we're going to have to really pay close attention to because some people have them as their favorite to come out of the East. But as we sit here and talk, that's a lot harder than everybody's giving it credit for. Given that you have to play these teams that have bigger front lines.
Right. Yeah. Before we move on real quick, I just want to get one more thing and then we can move on from this subject. Does this year's success fall more on KD or Kyrie?
That's easy. It's always going to be KD. It always falls on your best player. It never falls on your second best. We can talk all we want about Kyrie, and I want to bring him up later. So I don't want to really get too much into him because I want to talk about him later personally. But when I look at it, it falls on who your best player is. If you're that man, you're KD, you're the 2-time Finals MVP. You know what I'm saying? You came to Brooklyn, right? Now, no matter how you got there, you got there. It falls on you. You're the one. We don't look at Kyrie and say he can be one of the Pantheon greats, but KD wants to be looked at in that way. So if you want to be looked at in that way, hey, it's on your head.
I agree. I think that, and you said it beautifully, Antonio. There's so much from him coming from Golden State, right? Because like you said, he had a Clay and a Steph to lean on. Not that it's just a great cushion to have. So now people are questioning, well, was that, even though he was the best player on the floor, was that just solely because he had a Steph and Clay to kind of clean up any mess that you know what I mean, just in case he goes cold or whatever. So now it's really, really, like you said, solely on him. How is he going to be able to lead this team, right? Scoring, locker room, all the above. How's he going to be able to handle the media? Because it's already showing, right? So they're already having, they're not issues, but they're just things that could ultimately become distractions and could lead to the case of saying, yo, KD's a great, great, great ball player, but he's just not. If you're trying to build a franchise, he might just not be that person to lead your franchise. And that's okay. You know what I mean? But the pressure is definitely on him more than Kyrie. Kyrie just gets to be Robin, man. And I think it sucks, even though he proved he's not a leader in Boston. I think these are the times, because I don't want to step on you, Antonio, but sometimes I can be really disappointed in Kyrie, man. Golly, man, like you just do so many things well, and then you just kind of mess it up. So solely on KD, but yeah, absolutely.
And the only reason why I raised the question, because we know KD's coming off of an injury.
Yeah.
So I didn't know if some people would look at it as, all right, well, Kyrie, you're supposed to be this, perennial all-star as well. You might have to carry them the first half of the season, and then when KD gets his leg.
Well, we also got to remember, Kyrie's also hasn't played in a year, almost. It's about a year for him. He's coming off of a shoulder injury, so it's not like either one of them is coming from a point where they played ball recently,
Right.
So they both are coming off of major surgeries to whatever extent for Kyrie. So really, it's going to be on both of them to get back in shape. In game shape. I'm not saying they're out of shape, but get that rhythm going and see what happens.
Okay. Yeah. Listen, I just wanted to throw both perspectives out there, but good job, fella.
Can he? I'm sorry. Before we move, Can he? Do we think Kyrie can carry this squad if KD isn't what he needs to be?
I'm gonna talk about that later.
Okay, got you. All right, cool. Say less.
Real quick, before we move on to the next topic, I wanted to bring this up. This kind of jumped up last minute, and I wanted to give our Sixers expert, Antonio Gibson.
I'm glad you about to bring this up because there's another report that came out after this report. So
No,
I'm saying you set it up. Continue, but another report dropped after the big bombshell report.
Okay, but I want to give all the information because I believe I know what you're talking about, but I want to make sure to clear it up. So Shams Karanara, however you say his name, from the Athletics, have reported that the 76ers was willing and looking into packages to send Ben Simmons to the Rockets for James Harden. Mm-hmm. Now, initially when I got on here, I wanted to get Antonio's opinion about that. He knows how I feel and stand on that. I can elaborate. I say you keep Ben Simmons, obviously. You don't give up for James Harden in the sense of what Ben and Joel finally having the pieces around him and to actually see what they can do. I would say keep them. But Antonio, what is your thoughts on just for that to even be a rumor to even get reported?
Okay, so first let's be clear. Since that report came out, Daryl Morey has reached out to the Athletic himself, the president of basketball operations for the Sixers, and said that he is not at all interested in trading Ben Simmons, that he is a vital piece of the future. Whether that is true or not, everything can change, right? That's as of right now.
Right.
All right, so the Sixers play preseason basketball Tuesday night. I was very excited to see them against Boston, but what I saw was Ben Simmons is still Ben Simmons, right? I did not expect Ben Simmons to come out and start shooting jumpers. I'm not on the Ben's gonna shoot bandwagon, right? Yeah. I'm tired of it. I really don't want to hear the questions. He is who he is, right? But what I've always wanted to see from Ben was more of an aggressiveness going to the hoop, better finishing moves, less post-ups, and more front facing up, you know what I'm saying, and one dribble go. And what I saw from him was, I mean, it's the first preseason game, so of course there's some jittery stuff. But if that consists, I'm trading Ben Simmons as soon as possible for James Harden. because I know what that player is in the playoffs, right? I know what that player cannot be. Look at Giannis, who's more aggressive than Ben Simmons offensively, more likely to get his shot, and he can't do it in the playoffs, right? So that leaves me with little hope that a Ben Simmons not having that aggressiveness and not having that ability to get to the rim like he should will be even any more productive, right? Yeah. So if what I saw Tuesday holds up and this is the Ben Simmons that I see, then I'm willing to trade him. But the reports were that the Rockets wanted Ben Simmons and 3 first-round picks, and that's absolutely insane. That's a non-starter. You can't mortgage your future for a guy who seems to be more interested in the strip club than on the court right now. So I can't mortgage everything for him, right? He's gonna come in and get you buckets, but
clubs in Philly though. So
but
it was actually more on the road, right?
Right.
My family watches this. I don't know the strip club situation in Philly. I don't.
So real quick, Antonio, how do you? First of all, who? Do you believe someone in the front office leaked that to him? Like, where do you get that kind of news?
So yeah, I think there's a lot of leaks going on right now because right before that happened. All right, so let's give you the big picture, right? Last couple of days, stories have come out talking about how James Harden is the issue in Houston. Yeah. He's taking advantage of his superstar treatment. You know, he's spending extra days in cities he likes on the road, taking private jets to other places, blah, blah, blah. Those stories come out. And as you see, the trade whispers for James Harden went down, right? Everybody hates James Harden, blah, blah, blah. He came in out of shape, blah, blah, blah. Then right before the Ben Simmons story leaked, a different story leaked by, I believe, Tim McMahon, the Houston beat writer, saying that the Rockets are opening up their trade talks to other playoff contending teams, right? So then you hear 5-10 minutes later from Shams, oh, the Sixers offered Ben Simmons. So that's the Rockets' way, in my opinion, of trying to drive back up some trade value in James Harden, who right now is losing trade value by the day, right? And you have no leverage with James Harden because there's not many teams that have what you need to make a deal happen, right? Because James wants to go to a contender. How many contenders have a young piece that the Rockets can then build around who would still be contenders after? The Sixers and the Nuggets? And the Nuggets don't seem at all like they are even considering it. So that means you got to drive up trade talks, right? So let's see. I don't put a lot of stock in it. I don't think James gets moved anytime soon, to be honest with you. And if I'm the Sixers, I'm chilling.
Yeah, real quick before I get to you, Scoob, because I want your opinion on this as well. Sure. Last question, Antonio. At what point in the season would you say let's trade Ben? What point?
Okay, so the trade deadline is March 25th. I believe the Board of Governors literally just approved that a couple hours ago.
Yes, correct.
And I would say March 24th. Okay. Let's see where we are, right? I need to see because there's ways you can mitigate Ben's issues, right? So if you can get Shake Milton, first off, as you know, was on the Shake bandwagon before it was cool. Shake Milton, I believe, is going to be a very good player. Look, man, I love Shake. I love him since they drafted him. So Shake Milton's going to develop. You need another ball handler for the playoffs, right? So can I get a Zach LaVine? You know what I'm saying? Do I have the assets to do that? What are my other options, right? Matisse Thybulle, I think he's a trade chip. What is Tyrese Maxey going to be? There's a lot of questions that this Sixers team needs to figure out before they're willing to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Because Ben Simmons is an elite defender. So if you trade James Harden for Ben Simmons, you're automatically weakening your defense.
Yes.
So there's nobody you're putting into that starting lineup that's replacing Ben Simmons as a defender. We know it ain't going to be James Harden defending. So, you know, he's going to be the guy guarding Jason Tatum in the playoffs, the guy guarding Jimmy Butler in the playoffs. So to get rid of Ben Simmons hurts you in a lot of ways. So I need to see if I can get a guy without giving up him. Yeah. Like, my main target is Zach LaVine, personally.
Yeah. And I will say there's reports that have come out saying Ben is liking the new offense that Doc has put in place. Now it's just more about executing. So I do agree with you.
You know, I need to see it, you know.
And again,
looked great with spacing, but of course Boston didn't double. But if you double, if you're Boston, you had Steph Curry, Danny Green, and Tobias Harris on the perimeter. That's a lot better than Al Horford and Josh Richardson.
Which go back to my hot take of why Joel Embiid. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to do that to you. Scoob, what's your thoughts about this? Do you trade? Do you trade Ben? Do you wait it out? What's your thoughts on this?
I do not, and for the reasons Antonio just said. I mean, look, for me, if you put a James Harden on your squad, like you said, hey, you're giving up a ton of defense. Ben has proven to be a really, really good defender in this league. He's long, he's athletic, he's quick on the ball. He can defend on the ball as well as get to the rim and defend on the box as well. And James is not going to bring that to the table. And to me, honestly, if you put a James in that lineup, he kind of stifles the other players that would benefit from what Ben does, which is penetrate and dish. You're giving them the opportunity to be at their max and at their best. All they got to do is knock down shots. You know what I mean? That's way better than.
Let's not make it seem like James Harden can't pass.
I'm not saying that he can't pass. What I'm saying is, do you think that he commands more attention at the rim than Ben Simmons?
Yes.
I don't know. You know what I mean? I get what you're saying because he's an effective scorer. Because he can finish him off. I get that part.
You got to see this point. When Ben drives, defenses are worried about Ben, but they're not necessarily worried about fouling him.
Right.
And they're more worried about him as a passer than as a scorer. That's why what I said earlier was he didn't show me the aggressiveness in game one I wanted to see. Right? So if that starts to change and he's willing to go to the foul line, I'm with you. Because of how deadly he is as a passer at that point. Yeah. But until then, I mean, James Harden is James Harden. Like, let's not, everybody's getting clouded by the reports and him looking like a defensive tackle the other day. Hey. And I'm not saying he's good at taking photos. Listen, I'm not saying he wasn't in the club, but he's still going to drop you 30. You know, he's been doing this for all these years. It's almost like Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods was still the best player in the world at golf, and he was smashing girls on the 16th hole. Like, like, it is what it is. When you're that good, you can get away with it.
I agree, but again, for me, I'm looking at the totality of what it could do to the actual offense and everybody else's rhythm. That's just me. That's what I'm seeing. So it could be a situation like you said, where James comes in, drops 30, but at the end of the day, at the expense of who else on the squad, right? So I'm with you, but I think if I'm Doc, I take the opportunity to see what I can do with Ben. Maybe not trade him this year. Right, you know what I mean? I would try to keep him, but like you said, trade deadline. You got a little bit of time to see. Maybe looking to move in that way. But if I'm Doc, I'm keeping Ben as much as I can, and maybe like you said, adding another piece to that. That way you don't have to give him up. You know what I mean? And you can add some more fire to that lineup. So I think James needs to stay in Houston. I would like to see what him and Wall are able to do. To be honest, I don't see that as a as a bad combination, you know what I mean? But we'll see. We'll see what happens. You know what I mean?
Good talk. I know he's on his face. Good job, fellas. Let's move into our next one. Real quick, let's just highlight the fact that another NBA superstar just got paid. Giannis Antetokounmpo just got a $228 million contract.
Yep.
Guys, I mean, my first question to y'all is, do you think he should have stayed in Milwaukee?
Scoob, you go first. I'm gonna close out on this.
Yes. All right. Okay. So here's my problem. I'm all for Giannis getting his money. Here's where the narrative gets a little dicey for me. Now everybody's using him staying as a chance to take a shot at LeBron James. I hate that. And it's happening, bro. It really is. Now, yes, I feel like he should have stayed with Milwaukee. Here's why. Because he's starting something there. He ultimately could get the pieces around him where they could become a real championship contender. I mean, you know what I mean? It might not be this year, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, I feel like they could do some things, and he could bring a lot of validity to a small market team like Milwaukee. Does that automatically mean that that's going to happen? No, it doesn't. You know what I mean? But I think him leaving and going to any other team, if you look at the scope of him going, the only team that really kind of made sense for him to go to would have been Golden State. And that just would have been dangerous. Yeah, what other team? You know what I mean? Would have been able to utilize his strength as a downhill scorer. I only see Golden State. But I think he should have stayed. I like the fact that he stayed. I think it makes for a lot of interesting parity in the East. I think the East is still Milwaukee's to lose. You know what I mean? At this point, I do. I still think it's theirs to lose. Just because of the scope that you have him on the squad, even though there's still some dimension to his game that needs to grow. I still think he's a really dangerous player, and it's hard to stop him. Now, playoff time, a different story. But as far as getting them to the playoffs and having a decent record going into the playoffs, getting that home court advantage, I think he should have stayed. You know what I mean? I like him in Milwaukee. See what happens.
Go ahead, Tones.
Okay, so couple things. You completely forgot about Miami for him, Scoob. That would have probably been the best place.
That would have been a good place.
If he left, probably would have been the best place for him. That Heat culture is just something different, right? So that's just first part there, right? But what I really want to say is this: Giannis, I'm not gonna turn down all that money, right? Like as a human being, it's hard for me to say here, I'm turning down all that money. Looking at my account right now, I can't see me doing that, right? But this shows me that winning isn't everything to Giannis. This shows me it's not, because you had ways of setting yourself up to still get paid and to win, right? And I mean, if you're in Milwaukee, you're you dodged a big bullet there, right? That he took the money. Because think about it, where's Milwaukee at right now? They're not a free agent destination. Chris Middleton is maybe the third most overpaid player in the NBA. I'm not who was never a star. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I would say Gordon Hayward at 2, number 1 Tobias, and then third I would put Chris Middleton. So you have him overpaid. You have Drew Holiday, who you just gave up your entire future for, who you're now going to have to re-sign and guess what? Overpay. And you have Giannis. So that 3 does not in the playoffs make me think championship, right? As long as they have Mike Budenholzer as their coach, they will win close to 60 games, period. Mike Budenholzer did it in Atlanta. He's done it in Milwaukee. He's not a great playoff coach. His teams have not performed great in playoffs. And I look at Giannis, and you're never going to get another guy to want to come to Milwaukee, right? Like, James Harden can lie all he wants and put Milwaukee on his list. He's not trying to go to Milwaukee. Like, it's cold. There's nothing to do, and it's Milwaukee.
It's Milwaukee, right?
You know what I'm saying? Like, nobody here. Everybody has a little wish of where they want to travel to. I've never heard anybody tell me, "Oh my God, I just can't wait to go to Milwaukee." Like, nobody's doing that. So they're not a free agent destination. They're out of trade assets. What is going on in Milwaukee, right? If I was him, if I wanted to show a little bit of loyalty to the team who raised me and allowed me to blossom, which was fine. I respect that. I'd have signed a 1-and-1, right? I'd have done a LeBron, a 1+1. And you keep your options open. You keep the pressure on Milwaukee to continue to put things around you to benefit you, and you go from there. But to sign a 5-year deal with an opt-out in 4, man, the NBA is going to be a completely different game in 4 years than it is now, right? So, I over the past few years, Jalen and I have talked. I didn't think they were legitimate championship contenders either of the past 2 years. That's I was hoping the Sixers would play that. Both of the past 2 years, I was like, man, once we get to Milwaukee, I'm good. Like, we just got to get through Boston, or we got to get through Toronto. But Milwaukee, I'm not worried about, and that won't change because of this. And but he's not held to the LeBron standard. He's not held to the KD standard. I don't know if that's because he's foreign-born player or what it is, but people don't hold Giannis to the standard of a guy who just won back-to-back MVPs and just won the MVP and Defensive Player of the Year. Like, he got some backlash for not performing well in the playoffs, but he didn't get – imagine if that was KD. Imagine if that was LeBron. Like, he would have been crucified.
And LeBron got crucified for being hurt and coming back too early from the groin injury and still almost making the playoffs after he had them as a 4th. So, yeah, you're absolutely right. He's not held to the standard. And that was a lot of my argument about even the MVP. And just how again, I know it's a regular season award, you know what I mean? And that's nothing, there's nothing we can do about that. But it was just like, man, like you said, in the playoffs, you just cannot count on Giannis because of the just the shortcomings in his game that he hasn't been able to develop. But that's why I said they could be a championship contender if they made certain moves. But like you said, it's more than likely not going to happen. So,
I mean, but with that being said, what you just said, do you believe that the MVP like should change? Like, should it just be a whole?
It should be.
Like,
I believe it should, because again, you know, it's to me, it's a culmination of what you do for the entire year, and being able to see if you can lead your team to a championship. To me.
Nah. The MVP is a regular season award, and it's a storyline award, right? Like, so if we're gonna be honest, the guy with the best storyline is the guy who usually wins the MVP. When Russell Westbrook averaged a triple double, his team was what, the 4th or 5th seed in the West, like, and he was putting up those numbers because there was nobody else there, and he won MVP. The next year, he averaged another triple double, and he didn't even get consideration, right? Because the storyline had moved on from him. The MVP is what it is, right? If we're going to be honest, if the MVP is that, then Michael Jordan would have won the MVP almost every year for 10 years, right? LeBron would have won it almost every year for 10 years. It's just, that's not what the award is. It's not the best player in the league award. It's the most valuable player, right? So the most valuable player to that franchise at that time. And because your value hasn't changed if you're LeBron. You're the same value to your team as you were the year before and the year before, right? But the value of a Giannis has changed year to year. The value of a James Harden has changed year to year. That makes sense. So that's I mean, it's not a great award in what it means and what people want it to mean. Like Rachel Nichols on The Jump says all the time, there should be another award called the best player in the league, because that's not what the MVP is. So we need to change the award or add another one. But unless they're doing that, no, the MVP is fine the way it is.
But we would not say LeBron James is more valuable to the Lakers than Giannis is to the Bucks.
LeBron is LeBron, period. Right? Period.
Mm-hmm.
His value has not changed. Period.
I mean,
he's in the same value to any team he's on, period. The same value.
But
if you take Giannis off of the Bucks, we don't even have the Bucks on TNT once without the Bucks. The Lakers are the Lakers. Like, if LeBron's not there, they're still going to get primetime games. They're still going to be the Lakers. I'm not saying that makes Giannis a better player, but Giannis's value to the market of Milwaukee, come on, man.
It's one of those awards. It's one of those awards, Scoob, that we kind of made it where it's like, if you're already great and you maintain your greatness, you're not going to get it, because they're not looking at, because they already assume, all right, whatever team LeBron's on, he's going to chip. But that's why they're saying, that's why you need another award like the best player in the league, because then that award will always go to LeBron. Sure. Because you're saying, because again, you can throw LeBron on any team right now. You're like, all right, they're playoff contenders because he's just so great. Unfortunately, because he's just so great all the time, if someone has a little spike in their game and they're doing something that's outside the ordinary for that franchise or for that player, then they all of a sudden have the storyline where they're like, oh, well, they're most valuable to their team because they're doing this, and that, even though LeBron does that every night and he just doesn't. It's one of those flawed awards that's why I just wanted to see.
Yeah, I feel like we're devaluing consistency now. Like,
but they've been doing that. They've been doing that forever.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, he just took a franchise that hadn't been to the playoffs in how long? He took them from not making the playoffs straight to the finals. If that's not value, I don't know what is. You know what I mean? Even though the Lakers are the Lakers, they're still going to get primetime games. That doesn't take away from the fact that they were going to suck. You know what I mean? Ultimately, without having, like, even before AD came. So I get what we're saying. It's a flawed award, but yeah, I understand.
Well,
I just think that yeah.
It's one of those things. I was just curious what y'all thought about that. So let's go into our next segment. We haven't done it in a while, but it's called Who You Got. This is where we pick the top 5 of a position in any sport. And since we just talked about the 2-time MVP and Giannis, we'll focus on the NBA still, and we'll talk about the top 5 power forwards.
Hey.
Scoob, I'll let you go first, and then Tone follow up with them. Who you guys are top 5?
So I will probably get a little excoriated on my first pick. I'm gonna shake things up a bit. I'm gonna go AD 1. I'm gonna go Giannis 2. I like AD's overall game a lot more than Giannis. If we're talking about the better player, I got Pascal at 3, Danilo Gallinari at 4, And I got Zion at 5. I think and here's why I have Zion at 5. I think that his athleticism and just the way his efficiency is, he's young, he's still a little out of shape, you know what I mean? But I think he's gonna be a phenomenal player this year. So I have him as my 5th pick. Runner-up was Sabonis and Porzingis, only because Porzingis was hurt.
So I think we need to implement drug testing before we shoot, because that list was wrong, just wrong. So first off, Jalen, I texted you this before the show. Saying top 5 power forwards is an unfair thing, right? Because in the league today, what is a power forward? Even compared to like 4 or 5 years ago when we were saying Kevin Love was one of the best power forwards in the league, like the role of a power forward has changed and morphed and switched so much lately. It's hard to say, right? But you first off missed the number one answer. The number one power forward in the NBA is Kevin Durant. So KD's number one.
Classified as a small forward, though. My bad.
7 foot tall. He said this year he's starting at the 4. He's power forward. So KD's number 1.
Okay.
AD number 2. Giannis number 3. Pascal number 4.
How's my list got wrong? I only got one.
No. When you miss that big and you put Danilo Gallinari in your top 5.
First of all, Danilo is lit. Let's not act like
I haven't
go ahead. Run it out.
My fifth guy yet. Out here talking about Danilo Gallinari. Oh my God. I didn't think he'd be mentioned on this podcast ever. And at number 5, I'm gonna give it to a healthy Kristaps Porzingis.
That's the only reason why I didn't have Kristaps in, man.
At least you gave it. At least you did the honorable mention, though. You at least say you did.
Yeah, like I would have put him in had he been, totally healthy.
If he's healthy, I got him at 5. Zion, I gotta see it, right? I gotta see him play for real. With no minutes restrictions. Let's see if he can stay in shape. Let's see if he can stay healthy. Let's see it, right? He's still not a shooter. I want to know what he is besides an athletic freak.
Okay. So my top 5 is obviously KD. As number 1, I give AD over Giannis only because, again, to me, when you look at Giannis' situation, it's like somebody got to put the ball in the hoop, like, you know what I mean, type of thing. I think the stats are a little bit more fluffed up only because of, like, you're looking at who's around him. You're like, all right, Chris Middleton, you really about to be this second guy, really, or you just another role player that should be on another team? Where, like, AD is like, all right, you still getting yours. You were doing it before you got to LA, and even with LeBron, you still managed to still get yours.
Yep.
I still got. It was hard for me, more because, like Tone said, but I'm gonna give Zion the benefit of the doubt and put him over Siakam. That's only because what I saw from Siakam in the playoffs last year, it really. It's like, oh, so you do need someone like a Kawhi there for you to thrive. Like,
I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt because of the year before, but yeah, that was hard to watch.
I mean, because to be honest, if it wasn't for Kyle Lowry and Fred VanVleet putting on for most of the playoffs, they probably would have been knocked out a lot.
He was bad last playoffs. He was so great in the playoffs before, especially against my Sixers, that I'm gonna give him a break. But you're not wrong. Because
only reason why I'm going forward, I'm giving Zion the benefit of the doubt because even with that small sample size, I seen a whole different Pelicans team when he played.
Oh, for sure, when he's on the floor, absolutely.
Like Brandon Ingram was out there getting his whatever, but again, you go and get yours on a bad team. But when Zion was playing, they looked like a legitimate team. He became a problem, and although he's supposed to be the child of the NBA, he was treating some of those NBA vets like little boys.
He brings another gear to that team. He brings a whole other gear to that team.
So if he does put it together, he might even make his way higher up on the list. But for now, because it's such a small sample size, I put him at 4 and Siakam at 5 because something about what I just saw from Siakam, I expected the growth to continue. And to me, that was like a hard drop because it wasn't even like it was just like one series. It was like
the bubble, man. The bubble. I'm chalking it to the bubble.
I think they defended him different too. I think they defended him a little different too.
I think he put a lot of weight on his shoulders. I think a lot could have gone into that. But I can't argue with your
like
main
I said,
point that he played badly. But Zion, wait a minute, we're gonna talk about the bubble. Nobody talking about how bad Zion looked when he went to the bubble.
Correct. And I'm not taking that away from that at all. It's just more of the dynamic of if Pascal Siakam got hurt, the Raptors looked like they were going to be fine. They still were a scrappy team. They were fighting. Yes. They were still Zion hurt and Zion playing literally pushed them to at least be in the contention to get in the bubble once he played those last couple of games. And they were actually looking like this is the first time since AD left, since that AD Boogie combination where the Pelicans look like an NBA team that can actually do some damage. And that's why I'm giving him the nod, only because I'm only expecting, as long as the injuries stay away, that this young man's only going to get better.
Fair enough.
I can't argue that. I think that, like I said, he gives them another gear. I think so. Can I pose this question? Have we seen the best of Pascal Siakam in those previous playoffs? Have we seen the best?
So here's my thing. I'm not going to do that to him. Like I said, I'm making this based off of the fact of what I saw. Like, just like how if we saw KD struggle in the playoffs, we'd be talking about him. We would have questions. Mm-hmm. If we saw Harden or LeBron struggle in the playoffs, we would talk about, have questions. This would be the year to prove us wrong if they make it to the playoffs. Now, if it becomes a consistent thing, then obviously for me on my list, you drop more, because now you're telling me your best year is coming off of the fact that you had one of the best players on your team in Kawhi. And you got to roam a little. You got to be a great number 2 because everybody was focusing on the number 1.
Really, number 3, 4.
Yeah, number 3 or 4. Because you also had Serge Ibaka on there. Kyle Lowry still carries weight.
It was a great team. It was a great team.
So my thing is, if he struggles again, then yes, then I'm going to hold him to like, all right, maybe we are going to see a little bit of, a regression in him, maybe because he was just a product of what that team was. But I'm not going to do that just off of one playoff run. It's just for me on this list in particular, I just can't ignore that playoff because he was doing well in the regular season, and I'm going to give him that too. Yeah, like he was averaging around 23, 24 points. So I'm not taking that away. It's just, again, when you're considered to be a top player in the league, you got to show up in the playoffs.
Okay.
And that's where again, AD, he showed he could show up in the playoffs. KD can show up in the playoffs. That's why it knocks Giannis. I don't care if he's the MVP or not. It knocks you down because you haven't shown me anything in the playoffs yet. That's not against the Magic.
Hey, I'm just asking because I feel like, even though I put him high on my list, it's like I said, I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt too that we give him this year. But if he comes out and has got a pedestrian year,
if we're being honest, my honorable mention in the 6th spot was Sabonis, and that's only because he got hurt.
I bang with Sabonis too. I ain't gonna hold you. Get his face. Come on, what do you want from a power forward these days? Like, is Sabonis not lit?
Hold on. I was thinking about it, and I might, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do what I was originally gonna do, and I'm gonna change my list. I'm gonna change my list completely. Because of what you just said, Scoob, I'm gonna change my list completely.
Okay.
My number 1 spot is still KD. My number 2 spot is still gonna be AD. Number 3 is still gonna be Giannis. Number 4 is gonna be Jason Tatum. Because technically he was a power forward last year, right?
It was.
He was.
Brad Stevens, I heard saying he grew to 6'10". So let's assume he's still playing, which I don't believe at all. I don't believe. But we're not even gonna go into that. But he was a power forward last year. So that's what I'm saying. The wing position is so
different.
Hard to say what really somebody is like, because you're not looking at Jason Tatum and thinking a traditional power forward at all. But technically he's a power forward, right? So it's hard. But that's why I'm so hard on guys like Sabonis, because Sabonis, as well as he played, he's more of a 4-5 hybrid. I would put him more as a center than I would put him as a forward, because that's where he would hybrid too, where you got a Jason Tatum who's a 4-3 combo.
Gotcha. Yeah. Now the reason why I didn't put Jason Tatum in there is because I knew last year he split the small forward and the power forward spot. But that was more half and half, where I was focusing more on people who played the power forward more.
That's why I originally didn't do it.
That's why I put in there.
Now, here's my question to y'all, because I feel like we left him off maybe because we thought he was a product of a bad team. But in terms of this year, how well do you guys think John Collins is going to be?
You know what?
I'm curious because I already know some people are probably going to be like, well, John Collins averaged 19 points both years. Now,
Atlanta, but again, if Atlanta doesn't believe in him, there's something there that I can't. If your own team isn't believing and buying into who you are, and didn't he have a PED suspension last year?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So if your own team wasn't buying into you, I'm not gonna drink the Kool-Aid before they do.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
I felt like I was good on Collins. I thought about him, but then I was like, man, there's just too many mitigating factors. Like, I can't put him in. Right. Too many circumstances that.
Yeah, I was just wondering because I already know some people that I know is already going to be hitting me up when they see the episode and be like, "Oh, how you gonna forget about John Collins?" Blah blah blah, bro. He averaged 19 and 10, but mind you, it was also for a Hawks team that wasn't that good.
Right.
Up until Trae Young came, y'all weren't really contending anything or even in the talks of being a relevant team in the NBA anymore. Because before that, when was the last time they really was a team like that outside the Josh Smith, Joe Johnson era? Al Horford.
Chill. We're not disrespecting the Hawks on this show. But as we move on, before we move on, hold on, Jalen. I'm rewriting the show.
Go ahead.
We about to do a quick rant, but before we do the rant, can you tell me a little something about Benson Dynasties?
So yes, Benson Dynasties is our parent company. Benson Dynasties right now has merch on sale. So go cop that at bensondynasties.com. And any other type of branding, marketing, anything like that, Benson Dynasties also handles that as well. So if you need anything with branding, go to bensondynasties.com.
Okay. All right. So our next segment is going to be the rant. That is when one of us has 5 minutes on the clock where we can really let some stuff off of our chest. And just with everything going on in sports this week, I needed a rant. So this segment is brought to you by Benson Dynasties as well as Anchor FM. If you want to start a podcast like we are, use Anchor, man. They're great, easy to use. It's the best way to go. All right. So we ready? Start my time. My rant this week is on one Kyrie Irving. Okay. I've gotten to the point with Kyrie where I just don't know what to do with him anymore. I never want to be the shut up and dribble guy. I don't work for Fox News, so that's not my cup of tea. But man, Kyrie just is a dude who continues to put his foot in his mouth. Now let me start. Okay, I respect Kyrie as a player, but I also somewhat believe that Kyrie is a little bit of an overrated player. Because Kyrie Irving, before LeBron James came back to Cleveland, was a perpetual lottery player, right? He missed a lot of games. He did not win, and he did not improve anybody. He was not a traditional point guard. He was just Showtime, right? His ability to make the moves he was making and do the things he was doing on the field were great. On the court were great, but he wasn't winning. LeBron gets there, and he bristles against LeBron. He decides he doesn't want to pass, all of this. It's ridiculous, right? But then he hits the shot that he hit, and you got to give Kyrie the credit for that. Like, that's one of the biggest shots in NBA history. I'm not taking anything away from that. But then he continues to go against big brother LeBron, says, I'm not your little brother. I'm not this, blah, blah, blah. Ends up in Boston, which, as everybody knows, he didn't want to go to Boston. Wasn't on his list. But he ends up in Boston. He's doing well. Then he hurts his knee. Another injury from Kyrie. He hurts his knees, and then guess what happens? Boston takes off. Jason Tatum's able to do well. Jalen Brown starts to develop. Al Horford decides he wants to shut down Joel Embiid. I don't want to get into that for my own personal feelings, but what do? They end up getting to Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals with Kyrie Irving hurt. All right, well, that means next year when Kyrie comes back, everything's going to be great. No, Kyrie made the team worse. So Kyrie, you've been to 2 spots, made the team worse. Then you go over to Brooklyn. Brooklyn last year, you're telling people we need more help before KD ever touches the court. These guys aren't good enough, blah, blah, blah. You hurt your shoulder. Another injury. What happens? They play well. They make the playoffs. Spencer Dinwiddie doesn't look like he's a bad player anymore. Karis LeVert looks like he develops. What is Kyrie really bringing to the table? Besides the fact that he has the Uncle Drew dribble ability, he's out here a bucket, cool. But he does not seem to produce winning ways. And right now, he's already on Instagram talking about how he needs to have 8 post-ups a game. 8 post-ups a game, he told KD on Instagram. 4.5. I feel like I got a mismatch every time I touch the ball. What? You're 6'3", 6'4" at best. You don't need to be posting up everybody. The guards in the NBA are getting taller. You're not just rising up and shooting over everybody. You have Kevin Durant on that team. Are you going to be okay being the player you are, which is a Robin? And bro, you can't tell the media they're a bunch of pawns. That's unacceptable. It's a part of your job. It's the reason the NBA has money is by having the media to market you. If you hate the media, then get rid of your signature shoe, Kyrie. No more Kyries need to be out there. Oh, you hate the media? Then get rid of your deal with Pepsi. There's no more Uncle Drew. I need you to either B, I hate the media, I just want a ball, I'm an artist, or B, you're able to shut up and deal with the issue and play basketball and succeed.
Time. Listen,
thank you.
I ain't got nothing. I 100% agree with you. The only thing I wanted to throw in there was not only did he get hurt and Brooklyn play better, but the year before he got there, when D'Angelo Russell was point guard, they went to the playoffs.
Thank you, man. Thank you, man. I'm getting tired of
so that just goes to show you.
And that's not even to go back to show you. He got hurt even at Duke.
Yeah, he only played 8 games or 3 games or something like that.
Something like that.
He got hurt all the way back from Duke to Cleveland to Boston to Brooklyn. Like, come on, man. And then you go talk all this crap about, I'm an artist. This is my art. Yeah, bro. Relax. If you want to do that, go to Rucker Park. Go hoop just for fun. But you hooping to get paid.
Kyrie Irving is Skip to my Lou.
Now, you know what's funny about this is the funny thing about it, and you can tell this is 2 different leagues. Now, if Kyrie, let's pretend that he had the same attitude and he was in the NFL, he would have been canceled right now.
He'd be a wide receiver in the NFL.
Yeah, he would be a wide receiver.
Absolutely.
But because of all the injuries and stuff, they would have been got him out of there. You know what I mean?
Kyrie would have been retired 2 seasons ago.
Right. So it just amazed me how, I don't think he takes the time to just appreciate the opportunity. And he's talented. We all know he's talented.
He got the talent to back it up, but he just gotta get his mind into understanding of this is a business.
Bro. But here's my thing though. At what point do people, because I know he has some type of team, at what point does someone in your team or your close friends be like, yo, bro, you know what, this ain't the time, go hoop? You know what I mean?
Bro, I think that's the problem. I think that's what LeBron was doing. And I think that's why he wanted to come up from under his shadow too much, because of the standard that LeBron held that man to as being a superstar and a champion. You know what I'm saying? And I think that pressure is too much for him. He has to be the person that feels like he's a free spirit and say whatever he wants without any consequence or without any repercussion. And that is my problem, that he got way too much praise for that championship. You know what I mean? And this allowed him to get a pass for not being an effective leader. Because again, like you said, Tonio, you said it perfect. Before LeBron got there, what team was Cleveland? What were they? They were terrible, completely terrible. This man comes on that squad, he revamps it a little bit, but he takes the pieces that were already there for the most part. He took the pieces for the most. Hey, listen.
Just Kyrie. He just took Kyrie. He got rid of everybody else.
I mean, at some point, he got rid of everybody else. But again, to start out, most of those pieces were still in place. Those pieces were added like trade deadline stuff. And, he revamped the team for sure. But at the end of the day, he's done more with less, even in that. You know what I mean? So for me, Kyrie has just always gotten a pass. I told people he wasn't a leader when he went to Boston. Every time he's been removed from a team, they've gotten better. So I'm 100% with you. Spot on. Great rant. And that's why I told him, that's why I said he wasn't making the playoffs.
And honestly, again, I 100% agree with you. You already know how I feel about him. But he was on one of my teams. So I didn't like him.
We don't agree on much.
Right. We don't agree on much, but I knew that. Yep. That and the Al Horford thing.
Yeah.
But nah, I just got this feeling that if he does not make this work in Brooklyn, I think he's done.
Yeah. I agree.
I mean, what's making it work in Brooklyn for you?
Man, listen, and that's the thing. I don't know. Because here's my thing.
Because if they don't win a chip, people aren't going to say that's because of Kyrie. That's because of KD.
No.
Unless Kyrie comes out and says something crazy.
No, what I mean by like it making it work, again, you just pretty much laid out the same trend. You go to a team, you play there, you make the locker room real toxic, you get mad, then you either ask to get traded or you go somewhere else. And then the same cycle. I think if that same cycle happens here in Brooklyn, I don't think
it'll be harder here for that to happen because him and KD are such good friends.
Right.
Man, KD was good friends with
KD went there because of Kyrie. KD didn't pick Brooklyn. Kyrie picked Brooklyn.
But it's not even just a KD thing. I think if it becomes a bigger locker room issue, you continue to, but like if you end up having issues with your coach, because he has issues with coaches in the past before.
He already has that point. He said he didn't need one.
He walked that back, to be fair.
He walked it back, but he did say it though, and that was the whole point. Though. Like he can't say that.
He only probably walked it back because they got him his ass.
And so it's one of those things where it's like, I agree with you. I just feel like if something like that, because it happens so often within the last 4 or 5 years, something like that happened. It don't even have to be with KD. I don't even care about them winning. That happens. I don't think anyone's really picking you up too much after that. And if you are, you're definitely not going to be on no contending team. You're going to probably get picked up by the worst team in the league or something, or you're going to be in China with Michael Beasley in them.
Yeah. Hey, listen, man, that might be the best place for him because all he has to do is put on a show there. I think he's more show basketball. He's more work apart.
To be honest, it depends on what his motive is. I mean, he got his ring, got his money. Like, all depends on what he wants.
I don't know if his motive is really competing. You know what I mean, for a championship. I don't know. You haven't heard him really say that. You know what I mean?
This Brooklyn stint will tell. This next season or two will tell a lot about him. But I do agree. Like he needs to either someone need to tell him to kind of let's focus up. Like if you want to talk, at least ball out and talk too. But you can't be injured all the time and then be talking at the wrong times and just doing whatever you want. Like
whole size. What size you were? 12, 11, 12. Right in his mouth. Triple.
But good rant, Antonio. Let's go into our last segment, fellas. Y'all know what it is. Barbershop hot takes, our favorite thing. I think Scoob, you let off last time. So Tones, go ahead and lead us off, buddy.
Who, me?
Yeah, you.
Wow.
Oh, okay. So
don't come up with this cupcake take either, man. The last couple of takes been a little cupcake-ish.
Uh-oh. He coming at your top, bro. I love it.
My takes are always the hottest. Okay, don't do
stop.
I don't know what that even means. My takes. Okay, I don't even know what that means. You only come up with takes to annoy me. How about you stop doing that?
Hey, man, listen. I got to get the thumbnail going.
So this is my take. My take is that James Harden ends up in Miami. Traded for Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, and 3 first-round picks.
Okay.
Man, that wasn't no cupcake take. Okay, I like that.
I need to, and I give you the contract. I mean, Iguodala also has to be in there for financial reasons, but I don't see it happening in Philly. I think Miami really is all in on Jimmy Butler. Right. And I think they'll probably believe that Heat culture is strong enough to hold Harden accountable. I don't know if I would personally take that risk, but I think they would be more willing to do so.
Better be strong enough. They keep paying Udonis Haslem millions of dollars to stay in the locker room. Somebody better. Just saying.
At Riley, you can do what you want to do. You know what I mean?
Scoob, what's your hot take, man?
My hot take, we're going to the NFL, my guys. And I am taking the Cleveland Browns in an upset over the Kansas City Chiefs. If they make it to divisional playoffs, whatever, wherever they see them before the Super Bowl, Cleveland Browns upset the Kansas City Chiefs. I will give a score of 27-21. 28-21. I'm sorry, 28-21. 28-21 Browns. Hot take. Right here. I'm with a
Why you got that face, Antonio?
Because this just goes to show you we need a drug test before we air.
Oh, what do you mean? Are you
This
kidding
is
me?
ridiculous. This is the takes are just absolutely all over the place, crazy.
James
right
Harden
now.
goes to
But, you
Miami.
know, that look, Cleveland making the
dog.
playoffs
Baker Mayfield.
is like winning the Super Bowl for them. You have beaten Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes.
He's human. He's human.
I don't know that. I don't believe that's true.
Okay. We're gonna go out on a limb and say he's an alien. All right, Men in Black style. Okay. You and your MIB. All right. Hot take.
My hot take, I'm going back to the NBA. My hot take is going to be that LaMelo Ball will be an all-star this year.
This year?
Mm-hmm.
This year? As a rookie?
This year as a rookie.
Wow.
I mean, he might get in on the fan vote, but okay.
I mean, it don't matter how he gets in. I'm just telling you, you're going to be an all-star this year.
That'd be bold. There's a lot of guards in the West now. I mean,
a lot of pressure.
My only thinking is because the one guy that you paid $120 million to get out there is not about to be there no more. So
he's
now
day to day. He relax. He's day to day.
Bro, that from experience, that little fractured finger is about to turn into something major in the next week.
His career
and then
is
he's about to
day, bro.
Then he's gonna be out. Exactly. He career day to day. Then he's gonna be out for a whole 4 months. Next thing you know, he come back. Then he gonna break his toe, and then next thing you know, he's out for the season.
His eyelash is gonna be gone, and then something's gonna be wrong with his eye. He's injury prone. You hear me?
And so with him being off the court, I think LaMelo gets the ball even more in his hands. And I think because
they gotta start him first. That's the only issue. They're not starting him right now.
He'll be starting by the time.
Listen, Michael, what kind of product had they been putting out there where they can't start him?
Listen, that's all I'm saying is they're not trying to start.
They need the ticket sales. Ain't nobody.
We're in COVID. Ain't no ticket sales.
It don't matter. They're going to have fans back, and when they do, they're going to need the ticket sales. He going to play.
Melo gonna be in that starting lineup at some point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cleveland Browns, though.
Anyway, fellas, thank you guys for hopping on. Great episode. Any last words for y'all?
Man. Have a good weekend, man. Happy holidays. We'll see you guys after the holiday.
Hey, man, shout out to you being in Florida, too, for Mr. Olympia, man. Let's not gloss over that. Like, that's
I'm not actually participating in it, by the way.
You're not in it, but you're in it. You know
what I mean?
Right. Client, you know what I mean? We just talked about BDI, so you know, shout out to the squad being down in Florida, man, holding down Mr. Olympia. How's your time been down there?
It's been good, man, and better than everybody up north because I know y'all got hit by that nor'easter.
All right,
so I've been living. Right. Hey, listen, it's around 70 today. I'm just letting y'all know. It's around 70 degrees.
Next year, it's cool. Next year,
it's cool.
Stay safe, stay warm, man. I'll talk to y'all next week.
Stay warm. Yes,
all right, y'all. All hearts and minds clear. Peace. We out.